Migrant deportations to increase, says EU chief. Well, I will believe it when I see it. Have you been in an accident that wasn't your fault? Well, then you could be entitled to compensation. Nobody likes getting lowballed and given the runaround while at their lowest, and I know what it's like to be left stressed out of my mind and buried in paperwork while trying to keep a case moving forward. It is very, very hard. There must be an easier way. Well, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, is there to streamline the entire process so that you can keep up with everything from your smartphone if you become their client. All you have to do to get started is answer a few questions, and then Morgan & Morgan will get the ball rolling with a free case evaluation. And from there, a crack team picked from a roster of over 1,000 lawyers across all 50 US states will take care of the rest. And if having a team of lawyers, paralegals, and investigators isn't enough, then 24/7 support is available from more than 6 cohorts of support staff, or almost 4,000 if you're not Rome-pilled. Point is, there will always be someone on hand to answer any questions that you may have. And with this much manpower at their disposal, you can be sure that Morgan & Morgan will be able to fight for the best result possible, having already recovered over $20 billion from more than 3 million clients. But if Morgan & Morgan is not able to win your case, then the fee is completely free. So, if you've been seriously injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan by going to forthepeople.com/Count Dankula or by clicking the link in the description to get started on a claim. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, no friend of free speech by the way, has said the EU could draw lessons from a contested Italian policy of processing migrants offshore in Albania as leaders of the 27 member states hold an EU summit focusing on migration, because the EU is really starting to feel the effects of it. It's getting to the point now where even all the big, massive, unvoted in wokies that are at the top of the EU are all starting to go, bros, we are running out of money. Man, like, they've came here, they're not working, they're causing crimes, which is driving up police costs. You know what, man? It's like, this was a bad idea. I realised that we wanted to funnel them all in here so that we could conscript every single one of them by force for the future war with Russia and China that will happen. I mean, what other reason could they have for doing this? I mean, there's a few, but let's try and at least keep this video monetized. And even they're going, holy damn, this isn't worth it. In fact, China and Russia are now encouraging it because it's costing us so much money. And so, man, basically, we kept punching ourselves in the face thinking that would help. But no, our bones are starting to break. Things are going really badly. Why did we do this? I know, it's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny. Ahead of the Brussels summit, she wrote to EU leaders to say the EU's executive would present a new proposal for legislation to increase deportations of migrants. You mean remigration? There's a word we should talk about a lot. We should talk about that word a lot, remigration. Let's introduce it into the common lexicon among political discourse. I believe it should be introduced. Make it common. Make it widely accepted. Make it wanted. It's a sexy word, remigration. Italy has begun sending some migrants to a processing centre in Albania earlier this week. 16 men were transferred to the Albanian port of Schengen. What a strange name for an Albanian port. Anyway, on Wednesday, but hours after their arrival, it emerged that 2 were minors and 2 more were medically vulnerable and would therefore be returned to Italy. Other EU countries have begun considering ways to process migrants in third countries. On Wednesday, the Dutch government said it was weighing up a plan to send rejected asylum seekers to Uganda. By framing this week's... didn't we try that with the Rwanda plan? And everyone was like, you can't send people to Rwanda. That's why. What's wrong with Rwanda? Stop being racist. Nothing's wrong with Rwanda. It's a beautiful paradise. That's insulting to the Rwandan people, if anything. By framing this week's summit around the issue of migration, von der Leyen, who's starting a second 5-year term as European Commission chief, was she voted in? I'm not sure. You never know with the EU. Appears to be responding to pressure on migration from across Europe, because Europe is getting fed up. Europe is fed up. People want an end to this. Wages are being driven down, the cost of living are rising, and basically public services that people need to use have massive waiting lists, and the service has just dropped off a cliff and all that. And basically everyone's taxes are going up. Everyone's terrible, everyone's shit. Everything's shit, everything's terrible because of the mass migration. Everything is just awful. You can't walk the streets at night. You can't let your daughters even go outside to fucking fetch a pint of milk because you don't know what the fuck's going to happen to her. Right, it's terrible. Things are shit. Society is being ruined because of this. And Europe is fed up. Remigration. In her letter to member states, von der Leyen said the return rate of irregular migrants from EU countries is currently only about 20%, meaning the vast majority of people who are ordered to leave an EU member state do not. Then make them. They are committing a crime. They are here illegally. You should then send in the border patrol, arrest them, and deport them immediately. They are committing a crime. You know, basically, have the same response to that as you do to people sending mean tweets. There you are. You can fix the problem if you do that. Just treat it the same. Treat it with the same response. Send in the SWAT team. You usually do whenever someone makes an edgy Facebook post. Member states should all recognise the decisions taken by other EU countries to ensure that migrants who have a return decision against them in one country cannot exploit cracks in the system to avoid return elsewhere, von der Leyen wrote. Under the Italy-Albania scheme, some of the migrants rescued in the Mediterranean will be sent to Albania, where their asylum claims will be examined. The two processing centres, which cost around €650 million, were due to open last spring, but were plagued by long delays, have been paid for by the Italian government and will be operated under Italian law. Because obviously, whenever the government tries to do anything, it takes an extremely long time because of the very system of bureaucracy that the government itself created, thereby making it less efficient. Bureaucracy is all about culpability, by the way. The reason the government created bureaucracy was so that it could create a system where it has a fallback on and liability, so if anything goes wrong, the government can't be blamed. Well, we followed the exact paper trail that we were supposed to, but as a result, it makes everything take so much longer. So basically the whole bureaucratic paper trail, which takes like fucking 9 months to file like one form and stuff like that, that's the government's doing. The government did that, and the only reason it did that is to protect itself from liability. But anyway, they will house migrants while Italy examines their asylum requests. Pregnant women, children, and vulnerable people will be excluded from the plan. Political opponents of right-wing Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, as well as several NGOs, have criticised Italy's deal with Albania. Riccardo Maggi, an MP with the left-wing Europa Party, said the Albania scheme was cruel, useless, and expensive. What's wrong with Albania? Couldn't even make it through that. While NGO Doctors Without Borders said it was likely to result in further harm and violation of human rights. What's wrong with Albania? They're a bunch of good people. I mean, they've came over to Britain and completely taken over crime everywhere, right? But what's wrong with Albania? What's wrong? Civil rights activists gathered near the Italian-built centre in Shenzhen. That is a really weird name for an Albanian place. I don't like it. Carrying a large banner reading, "The European dream ends here." What's the European dream? What's the European dream? To have to wait fucking 12 months for a doctor's appointment? Or your daughter has to fucking wait 2 years to get signed up for a therapist? Because she made the silly mistake of going outside after the sun was down and she was approached by certain people and something really terrible happened. Yeah, is that the European dream? I love being paid minimum wage and like working 90-hour weeks, and yet I still can't afford my gas bill. Yeah, European dream. However, addressing MPs on Tuesday, Maloney argued that the new plan was a new, courageous, unprecedented path which perfectly reflected the European spirit. The implementation and the results of the Albania agreement will be watched closely by many EU member states, several of whom have attempted to respond to a surge in support for far-right parties by hardening their rhetoric and their approach to migration. You say rhetoric, it's just people want a thing. And so the parties are appealing to the thing that people want. Hey-ho, welcome to literally every single political party that has ever existed. right? You don't win by not giving the people what they want. What you do is you lie, and lie during the election process. Hey, we'll totally give you what you want, right? That's how these parties win. And then when they win and they get in, you do the exact opposite of everything that you said. That's how it works. Right, so of course, when it's coming up to an election, they are going to cater to what people want. That's how parties win. Welcome to democracy. This is the system that you love so much. And all of it's complete fucking lies anyway. In the last few weeks alone, Germany reintroduced land border checks, the French government said it would look into tightening immigration legislation, and Poland announced a plan to temporarily suspend the right to asylum for people crossing the border. Polish PM Donald Tusk said that the controversial move was meant to stop Belarus from destabilising Poland by allowing large numbers of migrants into the country. But how would that destabilise a country? I thought the migrants coming here was a net gain, so fucking doesn't matter if Belarus is doing it, just let them in. It's a net benefit. That's what I've been told, so just let them in. Open the gates. Let them all come in all at once. I was told that was a good thing, is it not? Have I been getting lied to by the media for nearly a decade? In France and Germany, it was grisly murders which prompted calls for tougher action on immigration. A Syrian failed asylum seeker stabbed 3 people to death in Solingen, while a young student was murdered by a Moroccan national near Paris. In both cases, the killings were carried out by men who had been given expulsion orders that had not been enforced. Last month, 15 member states signed a proposal by Austria and the Netherlands to improve the efficiency of the deportation system. Now, this could be one of two things. Either this is just absolute placation because the right is on the rise and the Anglo and the Saxon and the Euro are getting very, very, very fucking fed up. They are. They're getting very fed up and they've been fed up for a while. Right, so maybe that's the case and this is just placation. Oh yeah, we'll totally start putting in more stricter measures to deport migrants, and then they just deport a little tiny amount. But they're like, look, we're doing it, and then everyone calms down a little bit. Because remember how I said about democracy, they like the calm down? Well, they let anger build up for 4 years, and then there's another election, there's a new face to hate, and then there's the calm down. This could be trying to trigger a calm down. That's all it is. And it's all, in like the elections, it's all performative crap. The exact same stuff's going to happen anyway. Right, but this is just to trigger a calm down. Or the EU is really genuinely, like, basically the bigwigs, you know, the people, you know who I'm talking about. They've all, like, met in a room and they're like, yeah, this is not working. We are fucked. Right, I realise that we had a plan in place, but all we are doing is assuring our own destruction now. This will fail. Look, the plan was the plan was bad. Let's revert. I know we're all saying that the mass rapes... that the mass rapes and the murders were a nice idea. But, not pointing any fingers, Merkel, it could have been done better. Right, that's what's happened. Right, maybe they've went, this isn't sustainable, boys, we're in trouble. Maybe it's that. So it's either a calm down or the EU is genuinely realising the sheer damage that has been caused by mass migration. Maybe it is some of that, I have absolutely no idea, but I'll believe it when I see it.